Thanks very much for your time, colleagues. We have the privilege of Mr. Dave Panning from the Building and Institutional Furniture Manufacturers Association to help us out today. BIFMA produces a whole suite of standards dealing with furniture. It's kind of a natural place. Those of us in Michigan know Grand Rapids as a place where a large part of the U.S. furniture industry originated. So what I'll do here is I'm going to cut over, looks like we have another guest here. Sounds like we have Jim Ginnaty from Ann Arbor.
Yes.
Jim, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing, Michael?
Great. We're launching into this very quickly, so I'm going to do a bit of a round table here, and then I hope to get us out of here by 2:30 promptly. This will all be on our website, available on demand. So, Jim, since you first walked in the door, why don't you tell us a little something about what you do?
I'm the OS1 coordinator for the University of Michigan. I'm also the training manager for the custodial department. OS1 is a cleaning process that the university has adopted and we're using. We've been very successful in it. I'm at this meeting because we're talking about furniture, and those are things that custodians clean, and they are somewhat of a major issue in a clinical setting, so definitely would like to hear what's going on with that and be involved in it as well.
Okay, John and Grant. John, you want to start? And then Grant, carry on after John. Go ahead, John.
Yes, I'm John Walker. I'm president of Managemen. I'm also here representing, to a good extent, the Simon Institute, which is an ANSI standard developing organization that deals in the world of janitorial, custodial, and housekeeping. Like Jim said, cleaning in healthcare, and we do a lot of work on cleaning for health. So that's kind of my background. I'm wearing two hats today. One is from Managemen. We're the organization that developed OS1, and the other is the Simon Institute. That's the SDO for the janitorial and housekeeping world.
Okay, thanks, John. Grant, do you want to say a little something about yourself?
Yeah, Grant Aslett. I just happened to be in a meeting with John visiting, and he invited me to join, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. I've just been in the family owns large contracting company, and I've also been in the sales end of manufacturers and distribution. So I've been in this industry at different levels all my life.
Okay, thanks very much. And then I'll introduce myself as the moderator. I'm available basically in the cloud. I seem to occupy large parts of the cloud these days. I've given you a sense of where we have several websites under development. This is what we consider to be our home site, where you can see what we've been doing, what our strategy is here, and then we have another day-to-day type of website where we track all of the standards action, and we pick our spots. We can't track it all. We can't do all that we can see, but we felt that this is an important enough issue. It's one that you tend to overlook, and we had the benefit of some expertise, and Dave Panning has been kind enough to introduce us to his organization, and today he will give us a presentation. So Dave, I'm going to turn this screen over to you, and you can explain to our attendees more about your organization and where you fit into our industry. Go ahead.
Okay, so hopefully you are all seeing the screen now where it will say BIFMA Healthcare Furniture Standards and my name?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, great. I'm just going to clean up my screen here a little. So my name is Dave Panning. I'm the Technical Director with the Business and Institutional Furniture Manufacturers Association. I've been with them 5 years. I've been in the furniture industry for about 25 years. I've worked with Hayworth and Paoli, Howard Miller, and some other companies. So I'm a furniture guy. Primarily, I've been in engineering and management in my career. So what I'm going to do today is give a pretty quick, clean up here. Pretty quick overview of BIFMA, just tell you a little bit about us. I got to market us a little bit when I get the chance. And Mike asked I maybe talk a little bit about our healthcare furniture standards, and I'm going to focus on the standards where we talk about cleaning healthcare furniture. So BIFMA was established in 1973. We're a trade association of furniture manufacturers, primarily office furniture manufacturers. There is a residential furniture association, the American Home Furnishings Alliance, AHFA. So they're kind of a sister organization. We deal with the office. They deal with furniture that goes in the home. So we're very commercial. And we're primarily in the North American industry. However, we do have international members. We have a small smattering of international folks that just join us because they want to be interested in what's going on and what we're doing here in North America. And as we understand it, our standards really are used worldwide. So we do three things at BIFMA. We're advocates for the industry. We do market information such as industry statistics, and then my job is the standards, the world of standards development. And why we were established is because what we do is really more efficient than all these individual member companies trying to do it alone, especially with respect to market statistics in that regard. We're also a more effective influence. For example, we spend time in Washington, D.C., and more recently there have been things going on in California, and we've been spending time there. So we really speak on behalf of a lot of people and carry a little more weight rather than just individual companies. And our standards do protect the public and the industry. Industry does find it advantageous to have some level of industry standards with respect to seeking protection. We have over 250 members. Most of them are manufacturing members. We're in West Michigan, and some of the larger members in West Michigan are Steelcase, Hayward, Herman Miller. Possibly you've heard of them, maybe not, but we're all over the U.S., but very, very heavy in West Michigan. As Mike introduced, this is where it really started many, many, many decades ago. BIFMA is an accredited ANSI standards developer, and it sounds like we've got an FCO on the call here. We've been doing this for 30 years, and I've been at it for 5.
Cool.
ANSI is the American National Standards Institute. We are also the technical advisory group administrator for ISO, International Standards, for furniture. You should be seeing a list of standards, mechanical standards. You can see that BIFMA's got chairs, files, desk tables, panel systems, storage units, which would be bookcases, lateral files, and what have you. I've highlighted in red what I'm just going to touch on today a little bit is the large occupant office chair standard, which was just introduced, and the proposed healthcare furniture standards. We also have some non-mechanical, and the mechanical are more the functional performance, where you drop a weight in a chair 100,000 times and you pull on the backrest and you put loads on the arms and the legs to make sure a chair, for example, does not fall apart. So a minimum industry level. The non-mechanical are off-gassing of formaldehyde, for example. There's a furniture sustainability standard in which folks keep track of recycled content, life cycle analysis, the use of electricity, transportation, things of that nature. There's an ergonomics guideline which gives recommendations for seat height and how things can be adjusted, seat width, knee space clearance under desks, and those type of things. Really guidelines for designers. And then I highlighted in red the Healthcare Furniture Cleaning Guide, which was just introduced 2 weeks ago. So this is really the first discussion we've had with anyone since it's been published. So the large occupant chair standard, which officially is the ANSI/BIFMA X5.11 2015 standard. This was a study conducted with Mississippi State University back in 2011 through 13. Mississippi, by the way, has the largest people in the U.S. They're number one in terms of the size of their people. And the study was conducted with people largely in the 350 to 400 pound range. There were individuals that were over 400, but the majority of the people in this test were in that 350 to 400 pound range. And we tested them both in a lounge and office chairs. Lounge chairs generally are do not have the adjustable features such as height adjustments and tilt, whereas office chairs are high-task chairs where you can raise the seat height and you can tilt back and the armrest might lift up and down and in and out. We did measure the anthropometrics of the subjects, who were both men and women. The ergonomists were very interested in the size of these folks. So unlike all the other mechanical standards that are 100% performance-based, this new standard does have a prescriptive minimum seat width requirement of 22 inches. And I just want to share that the new standard, the existing chair standards are based on the 95th percentile male at 250 pounds. This one being 400-pounder, it is not a linear relationship from 250 to 400 in terms of the performance requirements. The study and many studies that have been done have found that the bigger you are, you're a little more ginger per pound in terms of how you sit in a chair or apply weight. In the study, folks were asked to sit down easy, sit down hard, lean back, reach to the side for a book, and there were various tasks that they had to do. So the healthcare furniture standard, which is a different standard, it's going to have 3 size weight categories. Again, the 95th percentile population would be category A, so to speak. Category B, which is equivalent to the one I just referred to, is basically up to the 99th percentile. And then for the very, very large folks, up to 600 pounds, they'll have a 26-inch minimum seat requirement. Often these are referred to as bariatric folks because they'll have the bariatric surgeries to try and reduce weight. 600 pounds is chosen as the ceiling because beyond 600 pounds, folks are considered non-ambulatory, and it's often equipment required, and they're just, you don't even find them in the workplace. It's just rare. There's also plans to include recliners, because there's very, very few standards out there for recliners. And again, these probably won't be for that largest category, but we're going to incorporate some performance tests for that. And we're looking at, probably a year from now for the healthcare furniture chair standard. Long term, there's plans to include carts, tables, and storage products, but we're probably looking a year or so down the road. So I think the one that we want to focus on today is the healthcare furniture guideline for cleanability. Its official title is BIFMA Healthcare Furniture, or HCF 8.1 2014. I do want to point out that we did not go through the ANSI process on this. We decided that this is brand new. We're thinking we might run this through the ANSI process down the road, but we thought we'd put this out to the users as a guideline initially. As other SDOs know, it's a little easier to make revisions if it's not an ANSI process. But we really did kind of follow the consensus process. We went out for votes with the various stakeholders, and that included manufacturers, test labs, universities, and healthcare providers. And the healthcare providers were well represented in the West Michigan area. We had Spectrum Health, Metro Health of Grand Rapids, and others. But we also had some national folks like Kaiser was involved in this. So it was a very large and diverse group. The scope is was very simple. We wanted to look at typical cleaners, disinfectants, cleaning methods, and performance. The furniture manufacturers really never knew what was being used out there in the market. Granted, individual companies were talking to individual hospitals, but in a broad sense, they didn't know. And likewise, the healthcare providers didn't really know what levels of performance to expect on the furniture in terms of how it's going to resist these cleaners. Do want to note that furniture is considered non-critical per the Spalding classification system. If you're not familiar with it, there's different classifications, and the lowest level is non-critical. In other words, furniture might come in contact with the skin, but it's not like an operating room where it's going to be exposed to open wounds or mucous membranes and whatnot, and that would be a critical level. So again, we're talking non-critical. What was very interesting with furniture manufacturers and what we heard from the healthcare providers is the life of furniture in these facilities is typically 7 years. In the office environment, in I'll say the normal institutional environment, it's much longer. But the hospital folks shared that the visual is just so important. If something's starting to look dirty or a little worn, or if there's a tear or something, it's got to look new, it's got to look sterile, it's got to look clean. So it was very interesting to find that out. So that's some of the basis for some of the tests. So the cleaning agents typically used, and this is all in the standard, I'm not sharing anything that's outside of the standard, would be bleach, peroxide, UV lights, which is something that's, I understand, new within the last few years, but is gaining more widespread use. Alcohol, quaternary ammonium, phenolic. We understand phenolic is maybe on the downtrend. Steam and chlorine dioxide. So many others were discussed, but these were agreed upon by the broad interested stakeholders as the primary cleaning agents. So we have a simple test which can be followed in the guideline. It's basically a saturated cotton cloth under a watch glass, and then after a period of time, remove it, and you look to see if there's tackiness, cracking, gloss change. So again, this gives the manufacturers, a minimum performance level with respect to these cleaners. I mentioned steam exposure. Oh, coated fabrics. We worked with the Association of Contract Textiles, ATT, and they've been working on a test which is still in development, but we took what they had at the time, and they're looking at 6 wipe applications per day for 14 days, and they do require that it is a 14-day test. And again, there's acceptance criteria, and I just listed a few: no discoloration, cracking, or bubbling. Steam exposure, we heard from the healthcare facilities that they use that when there's a bed bug infestation. So that might be used on mattresses. In our case, it would be upholstered furniture. And so the test is boiling distilled water under the sample. The photo shows it under a laminated piece of particle board, but the primary test would be under upholstered, surface. But of course, you've got arms and legs and other pieces of the upholstered furniture that are subject to this. And I mentioned the UV lights. I just grabbed something off Google Images, which you can see in the lower right corner. These units, they vary in size, but the ones I've seen seem to be about 5 or 6 feet tall, maybe 2 foot diameter. They roll this bank of lights into a patient room. Of course, the patient's no longer in there. And they turn it on for about a half an hour, and the UV radiation really disinfects. I also understand that sometimes they'll shut it off, walk back in the room, and flip cushions and things like that, and then turn it back on for another period of time to really thoroughly disinfect. So part of the test requirements are to meet UV exposure requirements, and there's acceptance criteria. You don't want the products to fade or change color or crack and that type of thing. And we actually do have a very long-term test going on right now with Metro Health in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where about 30 different samples are being exposed for about a year. just to see what happens to those. There's also an appendix which has some very minimal design considerations where there's discussions of joints, cracks, textures of surfaces. Healthcare folks brought up wood. There was a lot of discussions on wood, and unfinished wood, by the way, is taboo. That has to be avoided. The benefits of certain radii and coated versus uncoated fabrics and porosity. So these are all part of the guideline. That does conclude my short presentation. I do want to mention that it is available at www.bifma.org. It's free, so you can order and you get a PDF sent to you. There's no charge for it. Many of our standards do have a charge, but again, this one, we wanted this one broadly used, and of course are always welcome feedback. And so comments, questions could be sent to me. You can see my email address on here. So Mike, my clock shows 2:22, and you wanted to wrap up by 2:30, so apparently there's a little bit of time for a few questions.
Go ahead, gentlemen. John, Jim?
This is John Walker. I have a question back, I think it's on slide number 12, on your scope. And this gets kind of more into our area. But I was wondering in the scope if you put, if you were interested in considering or looking at frequency of cleaning. That would be one item that might be something to consider. And the other one is, what should we say, the professionalism of the person doing the cleaning. Do they have to take a test on how to clean furniture? Is there one? This is kind of over in our area, David, a little bit. But if there's a way we can harmonize with you folks and, help you or do something that runs along the side of you, these would be issues that we think might be something for you to consider.
Yeah, thanks for those questions. In the scope, I'm just peeking at it. I know I've got the document. Again, you can get this document yourself. I don't recall if we put anything in there about the frequency. I know in the meetings we've had with the healthcare providers, it is multiple times per day is typical.
Okay.
There is nothing in the scope with respect to the professionalism of the individuals doing the cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the attendees of this were, I'll say, managers of the cleaning staff, so they participated in this, but I really didn't hear much about, that they get, I'm sure there are training programs, but there was no discussion in our meetings about the level of training for folks to do cleaning.
Let me add just one concept, and then I'll let anybody else talk that wants to. But we've done some work in the carpet industry along these lines, but we have and with Shaw Carpet, and we've looked into it. That I want to put a concept in your brain that may be something that you ought to consider, that is important, and that is a lot of you call these typical cleaners. And you refer to cleaning going on the furniture. But we found in studies in the carpet industries and other industries that what the workers are actually doing in many cases, because of their training and their understanding and their scheduling and things like that, is instead of cleaning, they're actually polluting the areas that they're working on. So they're taking a disinfectant that you've got here that's not measured properly, and maybe they've done 100 chairs with it, and then now the solution out of the bucket or the machine is dirty. And so, I mean, I don't know if that fits in what you're trying to do, but I think if I were interested in, maintaining the life of furniture for the 7-year warranty without problems, there may need to be something in the standard that refers to when is the activity actually a cleaning activity and when is it a polluting activity on surfaces.
Yeah, I don't know that really fit in with the focus and the intent of this. Really the strongest background and the reason for this was the hospitals wanted to know what the furniture could withstand, and the furniture manufacturers wanted to know what are the hospital folks using. Now the details of how to properly do it, so as you're pointing out, maybe someone is just smearing the germs around further and making it worse. That wasn't really the focus of our discussion. But it's certainly something that if we get a lot of feedback, we could probably participate or incorporate that.
Great.
So thank you for those questions.
Yeah.
Jim Ginnaty, do you have any questions?
No, I don't think I do, because I think you just explained it pretty well there, David, on what your intent of this guideline or standard is. So I'm more inclined to be on the, in the same place that John Walker is, as far as professionalism and cleaning it, how janitors do things with those products. One of the things that you guys may want to consider too, in line with what John said, is a lot of times we have a tendency to destroy things because we put things on them that don't necessarily work well. So it's maybe not the use of the furniture as much as sometimes we destroy furniture because of the chemicals that we use on it, or some kind of an abrasive brush or something like that. So, but it doesn't sound like your standard has anything to do with those items. So.
Well, I see some middle ground here. It strikes me as a manufacturers association, BIFMA has its first tier of priorities, and then also I understand where Simon Institute is coming. There could be a middle ground there where you actually could collaborate on should there be a distinction between the janitors and cleaning help for a hospital versus the rest of a university, for example. I think that's what you were alluding to, John, when you said what kind of training is necessary. Is there a trade association for the people who are doing hygiene and custodial work in healthcare settings?
Yes.
So what's that group? What are they called?
AHI, I believe. American Hospital. AHE, American Hospital Environmental Services.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, all right. So there's some possibility there, since this is just a guideline at the moment. It's not ANSI accredited. We have a new ANSI standards developer. We have an experienced ANSI standards developer. It strikes me that you guys should talk more outside this call. So as always, I try to focus on the nouns and verbs of standards and code development. So Dave, could I ask you about where you are in your revision cycles while I have you here, and start with the revision cycles for these two documents, and then if you could tell us which of your documents outside of this particular focus area are entering a new revision cycle. Do you have a couple minutes for that?
I do, and I just want to follow up to the gentleman that asked the questions about training and maybe the abrasiveness on the furniture and stuff. If there is no existing, I'll say, requirements out there or training guidelines, we're always open to further improvements. And to Mike's point, this can certainly be revised and updated. It's not on the ANSI cycle, so we could update it, in a couple of months if we so desire. Of course, it takes a little bit of time to grab everyone and get them together again and meet and get some consensus, because we do want it to be consensus, even though it's not ANSI. All our other standards, or I should say most of our other standards, are on the American National Standards Institute periodic maintenance, except for sustainability, which is continuous maintenance. And that would be a 5-year revision cycle. So usually about 3 years after something's published, we start calling the interested stakeholders back together again, and we find it takes about 2 years to revise one of the ANSI standards. because they go through voting and comments and revisions and what have you. So the chair standard that I mentioned, likely the next revision will be 2020, although it could be at a different time. But we will target 2020 for certain, meaning we'll get back together again in 2018 and review, okay, what are the issues, what did we miss, what can we change. This I would anticipate, this cleaning guide will probably be updated sooner than that because, again, it's not on a particular revision cycle.
Okay, so outside of this document, what is this year, which of your suite are entering a revision cycle?
Our panels document.
Panels document.
That would be X5.6 2010. We started a year ago, and we'll have a revision yet this year. And
are those panels that contain electrical wiring?
Yes, they are.
Okay. I'm actually going to the National Electrical Code meetings for 2017, and it's always there's always a vast middle ground there with respect to branch circuit wiring. So I'll probably be following this one a little bit. I don't think you get in the specifics of wiring. You're probably concerned about fire safety, for example, and the durability of the materials. Yeah. Okay. Anything else this year?
Yeah, we're working on the one at the top, X5.1 2011, and we're underway, and that will be a 2016. But that's one we're currently working on.
Okay, so people who are listening to this on demand, I guess they'll have your email, and if you want to get, as always, I'm promoting the engagement of the public sector user owner final fiduciary. Complicated term, but we know who he is. These guys usually not at those meetings. So hopefully maybe this will give your organization some visibility to those. So we are on our time limit. Is there anything else that you wanted to use this time to talk about, Dave?
No, not that I have. I thank you for letting me have this opportunity to share with you our new standards.
I'm grateful for that, David. I just wonder, any final reflections, comments from Jim or Grant or John?
We'll try to get in touch with you, Dave, from the Simon Institute, and make sure that we're harmonizing along on some of these things where it fits.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the same with me. This is Jim. So yes, thank you very much for the information. I appreciate it. I've worked in healthcare for a long time, and I know that furniture is a major issue for us. So,
we'll be happy to work with you. You guys have my email, so make the contact, and I'm sure I'll reply.
Okay, and you're welcome to add to the blog here. As I tried to tell others, any issues that involve working with the nouns and verbs of regulatory documents. That's where we're specializing. So we like to see words on paper. We like to see people at meetings talking with passion, from the passion of their experience. So I try to encourage that. So with that, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. And
thank you.
I will post this up on our YouTube channel here and probably within a day or so. And I'm assuming everyone's happy with what they said and what went on. And I hope you all have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
And David and Jim.